The village of Nishampur seemed to have completely vanished from the map, a bleak, forgotten speck. The paint on the railway station's nameplate had peeled away so badly that it was difficult to read, even in broad daylight. By the time Animesh, coming all the way from the city, stepped off the train, dusk was already blending into evening. The surroundings were eerily still, the relentless chirping of crickets felt like nails being driven into the heavy air. Animesh had come here to arrange the sale of his ancestral estate, Chayataru. It had been 20 long years since he last set foot in this village. After his father's passing, there was no one left to look after the property. It was a massive, old-fashioned, two-story house, swallowed up by a dense jungle of mango and jackfruit orchards. To the villagers, the house was cursed, but Animesh, a man of logic and science, had no faith in such absurd ghost stories. When the ramshackle rickshaw he took from the station finally pulled up in front of the house, darkness had grown thick and heavy. The rickshaw puller practically dropped him off at the front gate of Chayataru and fled in a desperate rush. He didn't even care to wait around for his extra change. The iron gate was eaten away by rust. The moment Animesh touched it, it shrieked open like a violent scream. The front yard had turned into a wild jungle. Thick, suffocating vines wrapped around the tree trunks like sleeping snakes. Flicking on his flashlight, Animesh made his way toward the main entrance. The heavy padlock took quite a bit of wrestling to open. As the door finally gave way, a wave of stale dust and a damp, graveyard-like odor greeted him. Stepping inside, it felt as though the massive house let out a long, weary sigh. Walking up the wooden staircase to the second floor, every single step emitted a loud, groaning creak, sounding like someone crying out in agony. A room on the ground floor had been prepared for Animesh. Harudadu, the loyal family caretaker, had cleaned it beforehand, though he had refused to stay the night, using his failing health as an excuse. By the time Animesh finished his simple meal of rice and lentils and laid down on the bed, the clock struck 11. The silence outside was unnatural. Suddenly, a strange sound caught his ear. Thud. 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 It sounded like someone was pacing very slowly on the floor above. Animesh sat up in bed. There shouldn't be a living soul in this house besides him. The upstairs rooms were all securely locked. Yet, the heavy footsteps were echoing directly above his head. After a few agonizing moments, the walking stopped, only to be replaced by something new, a muffled, weeping sound. It was incredibly faint, sounding as if it were drifting in from miles away. Convincing himself it was just his mind playing tricks, Animesh covered his ears and forced himself to sleep. The next morning, as bright sunlight flooded the room, the terrors of the night began to fade. When Harudadu arrived with a cup of tea, Animesh asked him, "Tell me, Dadu, what was that noise coming from upstairs last night?" The teacup nearly slipped from Harudadu's trembling fingers. In a shaky, fearful whisper, he replied, "Young master, do not pay any mind to that. Just finish your work during the day and head back to the station before evening. This house, it cannot tolerate outsiders for long." Later that afternoon, driven by pure stubbornness, Animesh unlocked the door to the second floor. The dust on the upper corridor was an inch thick. Oil portraits of his ancestors hung gloomily on the walls. Walking further down, he reached the very last room at the end of the hallway. The door was slightly ajar. Peeking inside, he saw a massive mirror, a grand, old Belgium glass framed in intricate British-era woodwork. Animesh wiped the dust off the glass with his handkerchief and instantly froze in horror. He couldn't see his own reflection in the mirror. Instead, he saw a pitch-black room where a man sat with his back turned to him. The man was wearing the exact same shirt that Animesh had on. Suddenly, the figure began to slowly, unnaturally turn its head, before evening could even settle, a violent storm broke out. Animesh decided he was leaving tonight. But when he rushed to the main entrance, he found the door locked tight from the outside. Suddenly, his lantern flickered out with a sharp hiss. In the absolute, suffocating darkness, Animesh felt it. Someone was standing right behind him. A freezing, icy breath was brushing against the back of his neck. He frantically clicked on his flashlight, only to see wet, muddy footprints on the floor, leading straight up the stairs. As if hypnotized, Animesh began climbing the stairs. When he stepped back into the room with the mirror, he was stunned to find it brightly lit. Thousands of candles were burning all around. In the center of the room lay a dusty old diary, flipped open. The words on the page were written in his very own handwriting. It read, "Today is May 12, 2024. I know I will never return. This house holds people captive. Tonight, when I stand before the mirror, my old self will be set free, and I will be trapped inside this glass for the next 20 years. Animesh slowly looked up at the mirror. The glass was crystal clear now. He saw his own self standing inside it, but his eyes were completely gone, replaced by two hollow, bottomless black voids. Suddenly, a sound echoed behind him. Animesh spun around and saw another Animesh walking up the stairs. The same shirt, the same flashlight.